How's it nerdin', fellas? It's your host, Corby Raridan, and I'm back with yet another amazing episode of Nerd Central. Honestly, one thing I love about this job is the fact I can stand up here at this podium and talk about all the nerdy things I want to share, as well as showcase my wonderful cruise packs. Speaking of nerdy things, we have some awesome news to share, with all of it being anime news for once. So let's not waste any more time, and let's jump right into it. Kicking us off, we're starting it with the new release of the very popular and famous anime. That's right, Neon Genesis Evangelion is getting yet another installment, created by Yoko Taro, the person that was behind the creation of Nier Automata. So far, we don't have a lot of info yet, but stay tuned for more info on the project, as this is sure to be an absolute hit. Continuing with anime news, another Ghibli classic is getting a theatrical re-release. Kiki's Delivery Service is yet another phenomenal movie from Studio Ghibli, where they have stunning visuals, an amazing soundtrack, and so much more. The movie follows Kiki, a young witch, as she leaves her home for more training as a witch. When arriving in a new town, she starts up a courier service and makes new friends as she lives her new life with her talking cat. The film takes a nice look at a young person dealing with loneliness and what it's like to experience creative blocks through the lens of a witch. Catch the movie in IMAX theaters on March 13th this year, and check out the new poster that was created exclusively for this re-release. To wrap up our news, we have yet another classic anime having yet another installment in its entirety. Ghost in the Shell released a new trailer for its anime series, releasing on Amazon Prime and scheduled for July of this year. The new trailer takes a very vibrant look compared to the 1995 original movie. Fun fact, by the way, this show has an absolutely stacked team behind it, with animators that worked on famous projects like Dandadan, character designers that worked on Scott Pilgrim Takes Off on Netflix, and so much more. Check out the show when it releases on Amazon Prime this year, and let us know down below in the comments if you're excited or not for this classic anime having another series in its franchise. And that does it for the news. If you enjoyed it, well, you know what to do. Let us know what you thought about the news, and well, while you do that, we'll roll right into my nerd notes. I have some news that will definitely leave an impact on people, so let's jump right into it. Welcome everyone to my nerd notes. This is a little something where I get on my soapbox and talk to you all about something nerdy and deep in my interests. Last time we covered Scream, but today we're going to switch it up and roll with an anime edition of Nerd Notes. If you can recall from earlier in the episode, we talked about how Neon Genesis Evangelion is getting another installment. So, for the Nerd Notes, we'll be discussing the series itself and why it's so monumental to the anime community. 残酷な天使のように少年よ神話になれ Released in October of 1995, Neon Genesis Evangelion was an amazing take on the mecha genre of anime. Coming in around the time of other famous animes such as Sailor Moon, Yu Yu Hakusho, Dragon Ball Z, and many others. This was an intense 180 in terms of narrative. You go into the show through the eyes of teenager Shinji Ikari, a normal kid who is forced by his father, Gendo Ikari, to participate and help pilot a mech to defend Tokyo 3, a fortress city of sorts. A reason why this anime is so revered and loved is because of the amazing story and depressing narrative it colors for the viewer. To kind of explain it more, this anime felt more like your story-driven anime compared to the PG shonen that were released around the time of air. Simply because of having overly drawn-out fights or stereotypical dialogue, Evangelion brought a sense of dark and emotional betrayal of the human mind. Fans of the series even say that it went above and beyond the genre it was categorized in and managed to deliver a psychological and intense view of human anxiety, depression, and other feelings. Keep this in mind, by the way. All of these biblical levels of catastrophes happening are all affecting Shinji and other pilots who are also teenagers. And yes, I said biblical, because, fun fact, this show takes a lot of influence from Christianity, Judaism, and other cultures for imagery, messages, and more. I mean, there are depictions of crosses throughout all of the show's iterations, as well as other symbols and messages. Another fun fact, the reason this all exists is because the creator and his team thought they looked cool, and also went on to state how Christianity was uncommon in Japan, so the symbols would pop out to the viewer more and differentiate the mecha anime from other mechas that existed. Moving on from the themes and creation, let me actually explain why I personally love the series. Most reasons have already been stated with an amazing story and themes, but the visuals make this 90s anime still hold up in my opinion. Another standout is the music from the series. Just the opening alone is iconic enough to make any anime fan turn their head to the source playing the opening. If you haven't seen the show yet, I highly recommend watching it. Or the movie. Did I forget to mention that there are 7 iterations of the series, all with their own timelines and stuff? Yeah, that is the one problem people have with this series. There's just so much. Not to mention, there's more to watch if you want the full ending. Like, you have to go from the original 26 episode series to the end of Evangelion movie, then finish with the 4 rebuild movies. And it gets crazier, as some fans recommend watching the director's cut episodes since they're on Netflix, as well as watching the original show on Netflix to get their dubbing version, and jeez, there's just too many. But regardless, it's all the same content and story. If you have been looking for an amazing anime from a classic era, then Evangelion is the #1 choice for you. And that's all I have. So let's hop back into the show. Thanks for that again, me. I really love the Neon Genesis Evangelion series, so it was nice to do a full breakdown of the multiple versions of it. Next up will be Alex with his amazing breakdown on more horror effects. Show us what you got, Alex.
Hello, my name is Alex and welcome back to Cuts and Colors. We will look at different effects seen throughout films and discuss the importance that they hold, as well with how the effects are used. From simulated gore to movie monsters, we will discuss it all. In this week's episode, we will discuss the 2025 romance horror movie Together. Together follows the story of Tim and Millie, played by real-life couple Allison Brie and Dave Franco, where after moving to the countryside to start over after a traumatic incident Tim went through, along with Millie's career development, they encounter a supernatural occurrence caused by an underground force that causes a strange and unexpected attraction between the two. What makes this story so compelling is the interesting mixture of body horror and romance, where at its core it is a heartfelt love story about a couple going through a rough patch, coupled with major trauma Tim has experienced. That is combined in the story with body horror similar to the stylings of The Blob and The Thing, where the body horror in the film truly rests in the unease you feel when you have no control of your own body, your own flesh, and your own blood.
It's gonna be okay.
This leads us to the effects where this film would not have been able to create the sense of fear and arrest without the use of VFX and makeup used in tandem perfectly interconnected with each other. Where for the majority of scenes where Tim and Millie are connected, the use of VFX is used to interconnect them at first, but then the use of practical effects is used to create the interconnected skin, oftentimes with the use of various different types of prosthetics. But it is to note, and something to look at, is the use of puppetry in the film. Puppetry in this film is mass majority used to create the giant monster near the end of the film, along with the movement under the skin, adding another layer of skin-crawling grotesqueness to the film. But we don't just see puppetry only in this film. We see it throughout horror and throughout a lot of different movies to create what VFX can create, but in a real, practical sense. From movies like Cujo to The Tale of the Crypt, practical effects has always used puppetry in some way or another.
Pack of motion sickness. And now it's time for business news. So, Chip, what happened on the shock exchanges today? Oh, sorry. Looks like it's time for the Spurts report instead.
and the puppeteers oftentimes play a essential but not oftentimes talked about role in film.
It is a gap. There is the bridge, which is not just a gap separating two men physically, but it represents sort of like a social gap between the gentleman and the workman, and also a gap of understanding.
And with that, we just covered the 2025 film Together. Next week, we will cover the 1981 hit film American Werewolf in London. Until then, stay safe, stay scary, and stay cutthroat.
Always happy to see your breakdowns, Alex. They're just so impressive to see. Finally, we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Josh, with another awesome Mole Movies pack. Take it away, Josh.
Hey everyone, my name is Josh Oswald, and welcome to Mole Movies, where every week I watch a movie that's somewhat underappreciated, underground, or straight up forgotten about, and then I give you my thoughts on them and what I like so much about them. Don't worry, I won't be pulling any 1923 Serbian silent films told from the perspective of a sad shoelace, but we might get there eventually. So with all that out of the way, let's get talking about today's film, Raging Bull, directed by Martin Scorsese and released in the US on December 19th, 1980. In New York around the early 1940s, we meet Jake LaMotta, a middleweight boxing champion in search of being titled the greatest boxer of all time. We see how he maneuvers through the early stages of adulthood and how his relationships with his brother, spouses, and the mob affect not only his boxing career but his whole life. Joey LaMotta, played by Joe Pesci, feels extremely protective of his brother. He tries to set him straight when it comes to things pertaining to women and his career, and while Joey's not the beacon of perfect masculinity or intelligence, he still tries his best to be a better influence on his older brother. However, as the movie progresses, we see just how much the mentality of boxing, haughtiness, and abuse not only fuel Jake's rage within the ring, but also the way they bring his rage outside of the ring. The first half of the movie is really getting to know the LaMotta brothers and how they go about their life as a boxing partnership duo, and while this sounds possibly endearing, it's mostly full of extremely toxic masculinity and domestic abuse from a verbal and physical spectrum. We see how Jake views women and his uses of power inside and outside the ring, and this hostile mentality of everyone being his enemy not only emphasizes his insecurity, but also his distrust and paranoia. While a good chunk of this film centers around his boxing career and the wins and losses he takes to becoming a champion, the real focus is on Jake outside the ring, and it perfectly uses his boxing career as not only a catalyst for the story, but also an analogy for how he handles his relationships. We see when Jake steps into the ring, he's almost vying for blows to land on him, and we see him take hit after hit, only to use that heat to fuel his rage and power in the fight. When he gets suspicious of someone in real life, it almost always becomes destructive in a physical and emotional sense. He questions their loyalty, he overly emphasizes words or phrases they say, and he always persists until either they give in or he wins by force. He wants them to wrong him so he can be vindicated when he wins. This becomes a self-destructive cycle, completely destroying his relationships and himself. When we see him in the future, he's almost able to understand where he went wrong, yet just can't turn the gloves toward himself. And I think it's even more powerful that the real Jake LaMotta watched this film when it came out and was only then able to reflect on his actions and see exactly where they got him. And I think for a film from the 80s, the commentary on masculinity in this film is way ahead of its time. However, I'm gonna have to leave it there. This film is forceful and destructive, so watch this where you can and form your own opinion. I would give Raging Bull an 8 out of 10, and I highly recommend this to anyone who enjoyed films like Rocky, Marty Supreme, and Nightcrawler. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.
And that does it for PAX. We really have a solid crew like last season, which makes this job all the more fun to do. And speaking of last season's crew, I believe we have a special request from a former Nerd Central pack maker. Let me not waste any more time and just let him show you his stuff. Roll it, Wiley!
Hello everyone, and welcome to Rock Solid, where I break down some of the best rock albums of the 1990s, what made that album such a staple, and the unknown gem of the album. I'm your host, Wiley Goff, and on today's episode, I will be talking about the 1994 album titled Purple by Stone Temple Pilots. The album Purple was released on June 7, 1994, and marked a major turning point for Stone Temple Pilots. While their debut album Core, which featured hits like Plush, and Creep had been commercially successful, the band faced a lot of criticism for riding the coattails off the grunge movement. Purple was their answer, and it was a loud one. Purple was a major creative leap forward, but still carried the band's grunge DNA. However, they did expand into psychedelic rock with some blues influences on this record. They also used more melodic and powerful songwriting.
It's okay, believe me. Pins on me, will you kill me? The lounge fly, the fire bring me.
This creative leap and musical depth helped them flip the narrative of being a poser, and even had outlets that had previously criticized them acknowledge the band's growth and musical abilities. That wraps up the background. Now, what makes this album such a staple is its hits. Purple had hits like Vaseline, Interstate Love Song, and Big Empty. All of which remain some of the band's most notable songs, and are all in the band's top 10 most streamed songs on Spotify. Another reason this album is such a staple is because of its commercial success. Purple had debuted at #1 on the Billboard Top 200 and stayed at the top for 3 weeks, while also going on to be a 6-time platinum album in the US. That'll do it for what made the album such a staple. Now, the song on this album that I personally think is the unknown gem is Silver Gun Superman. This song is worth the listen, as it is one of their heaviest songs that they have, and shows their musical ability without it being a single off of the album, so it didn't have a lot of radio play. This song is immediately in your face and unapologetic about it, and it gets into a groove all within the first 10 seconds. With catchy lyrics and a catchy delivery, Silver Gun Superman shows a more heavy side of the band, and even with a 5-minute runtime, I think it's a song everyone should hear.
I could hear when the pig whisper sweetly. Jealousy is a weapon, you kill me.
And with that, the first episode of Rock Solid comes to an end. Be sure to tune into Nerd Central to see what album I cover next. I've been your host, Wiley Goff, and thank you for watching Rock Solid.
Sick pack, Wiley. Really nice to see you again on the show and to see the new pack you created. It's always awesome to see your work. Next, we have some commercials for you all, but after that, we have a new Nerd Corner segment made just for you. Stay tuned.
Here at Tower Yearbook, we are a dedicated staff of photographers, designers, copywriters, and practicum students.
Our staff is a student-led, student-run media outlet producing a book with over 300 pages. Be sure to pop out at any of our portrait or distribution events.
So stay tuned to our social media to see what's up.
Transitioning into college can be so frightening. We may not know what we want to do, but eventually we find our passion. Some of us are driven by numbers or creativity, while others are motivated by logic or structure. Although our study paths never cross, at the end of the day, we're all aiming to reach that finish line. Learning isn't about standing apart. It's about discovering where we meet. And that's why we all have major perspectives.
Welcome back from commercials, everybody. As always, I'm your host, Corby Raridan, and welcome back to another installment of the Nerd Corner. Today we have a special guest who's been on KNWT for quite a while. He's knowledgeable in things like Pokemon, Mario, Sonic, and really anything Nintendo related. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce Tayden Hensley. How we doing?
I'm doing good, Corby. It's great to be back here on Nerd Central. I was here 2 seasons ago where I did Hero to Zero, where I talked about heroes with bad powers.
I'm familiar. It was a good pack.
I appreciate it.
So are you ready to do a Nerd Corner quiz.
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, out of the 5 questions we got, in your areas of expertise, how good do you think you're gonna do?
I believe that I'm gonna get all 5 of these right.
All 5?
Yes.
That's some confidence.
Guaranteed, I'm getting all 5 of these right.
All right, then without further ado, let's get started.
All right.
All right. Question 1. What was the first game to have Mario get sleepy and lie down if the player was idle for too long? Pretty lengthy question. Let's mull that over. Let's take a look at the answers here. Super Mario 64, Super Mario World, Super Mario Odyssey, or Super Mario Sunshine?
Oh man, a lot of great games here. But Odyssey is too new. It's been going on for a minute. I remember him doing it in Mario Galaxy, but Mario Galaxy isn't on here.
Okay.
And I feel like Mario World, I feel like they wouldn't. Mario World had the timer, so he couldn't be there for too long.
He didn't have time to be sleeping.
He didn't have time to be sleeping. So I'm gonna go with A, Super Mario 64.
Super Mario 64. Let's lock that in. Let's take a look. That is correct. That is correct. I guess as soon as they made Mario 3D, they're like, you know what? He can get a little tired now.
Yeah.
He can lay down, take a little nap.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to the next question. Already starting off good, 1 out of 1. What was Mario's name before he was named Mario? All right, let's take a look at the answers here. We got we got Salvatore, we got Plumber Man, we got Jump Man, and Luigi.
Wow.
These are quite the options here.
Yeah, Salvatore, man, what a crazy name.
That is a name I am not familiar with.
Yeah, so I don't think it's Salvatore. That don't sound right. Plumber Man, Mario is a plumber, but he ain't a plumber man.
Okay.
You got Jump Man, which I believe is a Drake song, and then Luigi, that's Mario's brother.
Yeah, maybe he was called like Luigi before.
He could have been.
Let's retcon that and make it his brother.
He could have been, but I'm not sure about that. I think I'm gonna go with C, Jumpman.
We're gonna go with Jumpman?
We're gonna go with Jumpman.
Let's lock in Jumpman. Take a look. That is correct.
There we go.
2 for 2. So it seems we got the Mario category out of the way.
Yeah.
Let's move on to question number 3.
Uh-oh.
What game did Super Sonic first appear in? Moving on to some Sonic questions. Here are our options. We got Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, or Sonic CD.
Ooh, okay. All right, this one's a little tricky.
Might get you thinking a little bit.
Okay, got me thinking a bit. Okay. Man. I only played the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
you know some of the newer stuff.
I know some of the more newer stuff, but I've done my research. I've done plenty of research over this.
Okay.
I feel like it's a little bit. I feel like it's a trick. I feel like it probably would have been Sonic 2, but I'm thinking of the live action movie because he turned Super Sonic in the live action movie. But we're talking about the games here. And I'm pretty sure he was always able to become Super Sonic. So I'm gonna go with A, Sonic the Hedgehog OG.
The original Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yes.
We're locking that answer in. Let's take a look. It was actually
man.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Dang.
You had it.
I had it.
The movie, I guess they did that on purpose. They were like,
Yeah.
let's reference the second game.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, that is an incorrect answer, but that doesn't mean you can't close out with a 4 out of 5. That's still a good grade.
Yeah.
Let's move on to question number 4. Based off the audio, which game spawned this famous quote?
Ooh, we got audio now?
Yeah,
man.
we're switching it up a little bit today.
All right.
Let's take a look at the audio. Here it is.
I found you, faker.
Okay. That is a very easy one.
Okay.
If my calculations are correct, that is Sonic Adventure 2, where Sonic and Shadow meet for the first time.
Here are our options. We have Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, Shadow the Hedgehog, and Sonic Free Riders. But it seems you're pretty confident on locking in Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, we're going with B.
Off the rip, let's
Off the
run
rip.
it. That is correct.
Yeah, let's go.
That was a bit of a lob up, an easy,
A lob up.
easy whammy. So let's take it to question number 5. We are 3 out of 4. Let's see if we can stick the landing here. Who traveled with Ash the longest? It's a Pokemon question.
Pokemon, all right.
Take a look at the answers. We got Misty, Dawn, Brock, and Iris.
Alrighty, okay. So let's look at all 4 of these right here.
Let's break them down.
We got Misty. She was in there for the beginning. She was there from all the Kanto seasons until Johto. All right. Then we have Dawn. She didn't show until Diamond and Pearl, which is Sinnoh. That's later on. Then we got Brock, who was also in the first season with Misty. He lasted a while. And then we have Iris, who was introduced in Black and White. But Brock, second season of Pokemon, he ended up leaving the show and got replaced with Tracy, but he came back.
Ooh.
And he came back all throughout Johto, and all throughout Hoenn, and all throughout Sinnoh. So I would say the answer is C, Brock.
Okay. All right, because if I was looking at these answers with my knowledge, I would either go with Misty or Brock, because those are like the old ones.
Yeah.
I didn't know Brock dipped.
Yeah,
and
he
then
did.
he came back.
Yeah.
That's a real one. Let's take a look. Let's lock it in. That is
Let's
correct.
go.
4 out of 5 correct. That's impressive work. You
Thank
know?
you. Yeah,
let's
thank
not turn our nose at missing one question.
Yeah, man, that didn't even happen.
It was.
Yeah.
I already forgot it. Scratch
Yeah.
it off the record.
Yeah, so did I, man.
And there we go. That is the end of the Nerd Corner quiz. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, this was really fun. Thank you for having me.
Let's go. Yeah, it's always nice to have a good guest that knows their nerdy trivia.
Exactly.
And with that final question, that brings this Nerd Corner to a close. If you enjoyed it, be sure to let us know. And if you want to see more, check out our older episodes where we play this with other members of KNWT. But it looks like we're almost out of time. Tayden, did you have fun?
Yeah, this was really fun. I'm happy you guys all brought me here. I'm mad that I got question 3 wrong, but at the end of the day, it's all about having fun here at Nerd Central.
Yeah, I mean, I had a fun time. I'm really glad we got to have you on the show, but would you mind wrapping this out with me?
Of course.
All right.
Stay nerdy.
And that brings our show to a close. We had some solid news, a fun Nerd Note segment, fantastic packs, and a super fun Nerd Corner segment. But sadly, all good things must come to an end. So everyone, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to show your support, and hit the bell to never miss an upload from us. I've been your host, Corby Raridan, and this has been Nerd Central. Stay nerdy!